Hello everyone, my name is Samantha Moyer and this video is a part of my Asian American Studies 100 class. Today I will be discussing the novel Journey to the West and arguing about its influence on American literature and Chinese culture in the modern day. So if you're like a lot of other people, you're probably asking yourself, what is Journey to the West and why is she so passionate about this subject? Journey to the West is a 2,400-page novel. It is believed to be written by Wu Chang'en in the 1600s. It is inspired by a real-life Buddhist named Xuanzang, who traveled to India in search of sacred texts. However, the actual story of the novel follows the Monkey King, also known as Sun Wukong. Yay! I love him. We will get more into the story later. This story has been a staple within Chinese culture. Since the novel has existed for hundreds of years, it has had several different translations, retellings, and interpretations. The story spans across several different forms of media, from movies, TV show, audiobooks, comic books, and Lego sets. Also more on that later. Because of its popularity, it's no wonder that it's had such an influence not only on Chinese culture, but also American literature. That being said, Journey to the West, because of its popularity in China, has had a very influential part in American storytelling, even going as far as to uplift Chinese culture in the modern era. I know I just yapped for several seconds without answering any of the questions mentioned above, so to start, let's figure out what the story of Journey to the West is. The story of Journey to the West follows 5 characters. The first is Monkey, also known as Sun Wukong, also known as the Monkey King, also known as the Great Sage Equal to Heaven. He's got a lot of names. And he is our main character. He's a delinquent trickster who goes on an insane quest to become super powerful and equal to heaven. But after being punished by Buddha and sentenced to live under a mountain for 500 years, he eventually agrees to be a disciple of the monk Tong Sanzang. Tong Sanzang is a Buddhist monk and the reincarnation of the golden cicada. He is sent by the emperor on a quest to Tanshu to bring Buddhist sutras back to the Tang Empire. Sun Wukong is the first character Tong Sanzang picks up on the way, but throughout the journey he also encounters the final 3 characters, Zhu Bajie, Xiao Wujing, and the White Dragon Horse. All of these side characters have reasons for joining Tong Sanzang on the journey, but the overall theme is for all of them to seek redemption for their wrongdoings and to reach enlightenment by learning from the monk. Now, as I mentioned before, this novel is 2,400 pages long. How is that short of a story I described supposed to span across 2,400 pages? Well, to keep it simple, the first 13 chapters are just an introduction to Sun Wukong and his quest of immortality. When he finally meets Tong Sanzang and the other disciples, the story takes on an episodic format from chapter 13 to 99. Yeah, 99. Wherein the monk gets captured and his disciples have to figure out ways to rescue him, over and over and over again. How does this influence American literature, you may ask? Well, for starters, this episodic format of a new monster every chapter is a common structure for a lot of series in America. For example, crime shows. The show Prodigal Son follows a thorough storyline with the main detective having daddy issues, but every single episode he has a new murder case to solve. Additionally, I'd even go as far as to argue this structure is similar to reality TV shows as well. For example, The Masked Singer, in which every week there's a new singer that the judges have to suss out. Since The Journey to the West was written such a long time ago, this episodic format of storytelling has carried over throughout history and has continued to influence story structure today. Additionally, there are several character archetypes shown throughout the novel. As Luo Zhong points out in the article, The Influence of Journey to the West on Global Literature, character archetypes in the novel also resonate universally. The clever trickster, Sun Wukong, the bumbling yet enduring fool, which is Pigsy, also known as Zhu Bajie, and the stoic warrior Sandy, also known as Xiao Wujing, represent diverse aspects of human nature. This rich characterization allows readers from various cultures to find relatable traits within themselves. And again, as I mentioned previously, since Journey to the West was one of the most influential stories among Chinese culture, these character archetypes have crossed over to American literature. This leads into my next argument. There have been several studies showing that Journey to the West has either been influenced by other popular stories or influenced other pieces of literature. For example, Hamlet. As Evan Mantic writes in the article, on their uncanny similarities, Hamlet and Journey to the West. There is a specific story in Journey to the West that shares both an incredible resemblance to the story of Hamlet. Quote, both stories begin with the ghost of the king visiting the main characters and explaining that he was deviously murdered by a brother while in a garden, and that the current king is that brother. Both stories revolve around the prince of the kingdom trying to unseat the murderous king currently on the throne. Both also end with the murderous king's removal and a plot twist that puts all of the events into a different light, end quote. Although there was zero communication and cultural exchange between England and China at the time, it's still very interesting to think about the potential that they either drew upon each other or similar ideas at the time. With these influences, Journey to the West has recently become a more prevalent IP in America. As mentioned in the intro, Journey to the West has had several adaptations spanning across China as well as America. With TV shows such as Dragon Ball Z and American-born Chinese, it has made several fans of these adaptations look further into the background of the source. The most current example of this is the video game Black Myth Wukong. This game was released in 2024 and is a fighting-style game with storytelling elements. It is directly adapted from Journey to the West, and with 2,223,179 concurrent players, it definitely had more Americans appreciating the origins of Sun Wukong than before. What I found most interesting while compiling research for this argument was the idea of cultural empowerment theory. The theory argues that, on the one hand, cultural heritage is influenced by external structures and factors such as urbanization, industrialization, marketization, and globalization, resulting in passive structural and functional changes. On the other hand, once formed in a specific location throughout historical evolution, cultural heritage develops inherent structural characteristics and becomes a structural factor capable of resource allocation, referring to as structural heritage. Through the lens of cultural empowerment theory, Journey to the West is seen as a very influential piece as it's evolved historically through many different adaptations. Seeing as Black Myth Wukong has been the most recent well-received adaptation, especially among younger generations, it definitely falls under this category. With this revitalization of Journey to the West story, it proves the story's vitality through modern generations and its relevance in our contemporary society. Oh man, I don't know how to pronounce these names. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I can't pronounce these people's names. I tried to search it up on Google and it didn't come up. But as these authors write in their article, the adaptations of Journey to the West and the interaction between the Chinese youth and Black Myth Wukong from the perspective of cultural empowerment theory, young players transcend passive consumption in the digital game Black Myth Wukong, becoming cultural explorers and transmitters. Their engagement manifests through gameplay, fan creations, and cultural commentary on social media, demonstrating profound cultural identification. By blending traditional elements with contemporary expressions, they inject new vitality into cultural heritage while expanding on its influence. This further proves my point that, sorry, I'm going off script here, so I'm not going to be as eloquent as I wrote in the script, but this just kind of continues to prove that with this story of Journey to the West and how it is portrayed in America, whether that's through the character archetypes or story structures that have influenced today's standards for television, or through fan bases of these TV shows and adaptations from Journey to the West, such as Black Myth Wukong, there is a more empowered sense of culture from these influences. And with that being said, I think it's a great way to bring more people aware of other cultures and other stories, as well as celebrating our history and sort of what a lot of our modern literature and story structures came from. Obviously, there's not much direct evidence to show that Journey to the West inspired a lot of American story structure, but I'd argue that, and what this whole video's point is the argument that because it was one of the firsts, a lot of other writers took inspiration from that and continued to propel this story structure further down the line, resulting in our modern day. With adaptations of Journey to the West as a whole, this uplifts Chinese cultures, not only for Chinese fan bases, but also for Americans who are interested in learning more about this story. Because I think awareness of anyone's culture anywhere helps provide more empathy and recognition into our society. That was a whole rant, but In conclusion, the impact Journey to the West has made is vast. From influencing modern American storytelling to uplifting Chinese culture in the 20th century, it has become a prevalent staple in our society. I first found out about Journey to the West through the TV show Lego Monkey Kid. That's right, Lego. It is a Lego TV show. Unfortunately, it's such a good children's TV show. And I will even put a picture up in editing of how many things I have bought from Lego because of the grip that this show had on me. Anyways, ever since watching that show, I fell in love with the story of Journey to the West, especially Sun Wukong, and it has been my main interest for several years now. I think I found it 2022 if I had to guess. So I've been addicted to the show Lego Monkey Kid and Sun Wukong as a whole for about 3 years now, which is crazy to say, but it's true. And also, before the video ends, I just want to say thank you to Professor Ohm for letting me choose this subject. I know it was a little confusing in the beginning, and it still might be by the time I finish this video, but this is genuinely one of my favorite projects I've made so far because of the subject. Also, shout out to the peers who reviewed my outline. Your comments helped me write a better script, and I really value your feedback. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. Bye!